us there in 40 minutes. Anything jump out at you right away?
Well, I think you could tell that Ms. Eastman wanted to make sure the people who are watching this, many of which are Democrats, know that she's a lifelong Democrat. She said it, what, 6, 7 times? I'm the only lifelong Democrat. She wanted to make sure that she's always been that, and everyone knows that. She also kind of talked to her strength as being an outsider, which is working pretty well around the country right now. And then on the other hand, Mr. Ashford leaned on what he has. He's got his experience. He's got his 2 years in office. He's worked in Congress. He understands that, so he leaned on that the whole time as well.
You know, it was interesting that, I suppose it's how you phrase it.
Yeah.
He talked about changing his position on Keystone XL and the assault weapons ban, and saying you'd be stupid not to serve in office for as many years as he has and not be willing to change your perspective and to hear other opinions and go with the flow, if you will.
I don't think people buy that.
You don't think that?
I don't think so. I think the majority of us, when it comes to the big things,
right,
you know, abortion, guns, the ones that we all talk about that you're not supposed to talk about at dinner, I think we all kind of stay on our opinion. And maybe it lessens when we get older, and maybe we flip our tax position when we make a little bit more money. But for the most part, we're pretty standard. And when you're talking about something like the environment with the Keystone XL,
right,
or if you're talking about something about assault weapons, people have the same opinion they're always going to have. And I think people look at that and think, well, is he a flip-flopper? Is he going to go there and flip again?
Yeah, and that's there might have been an attack point there that Ms. Eastman could have jumped on.
Sure.
Because that term sticks.
Yeah.
You know, once you get that term in politics, you're a flip-flopper. You know, it's tough to
Oh,
run
yeah.
and hide from it. Back to Cara Eastman, saying that she's the fresh face in the race. Do you think she was effective in delivering that?
I thought she did a really good job. She didn't seem nervous. I know they've had debates before this, so she's kind of been in this. But going back over and over saying, look, I've talked to the people. I've gone to 40,000 doors. I know what these people want. I have a really good idea, and I'm just telling you what they want. Also, I mean, it's a powerful statement whenever she goes back and talks about her mom. I mean, that's what got her into this. And if any of us who deal with health care, both my kids are in the hospital all the time, and you know how much that costs, and above and beyond of what the insurance pays. And every time she goes back to that, I think she has a strong case, because when you can personalize it to people who have the same problems you do, I think it's pretty effective.
Now, looking ahead to the general election,
Yeah.
you know, Don Bacon's waiting in the wings. Obviously, his people are watching this debate. He likely is too.
Yeah.
And they see health care as emerging as this issue. At one point, Brett Ashford said Republicans failed to address the health care and the ACA. So do you think Bacon gets a head start in lining up his answers, getting ready to defend?
You know, it's kind of funny when when Mr. Ashford was talking about what needs to do, he also dropped the fact that it costs $2 trillion to have single payer and to make everyone be able to have the insurance. So he almost countered it by saying, I don't know if we can get this done because it costs too much money. I think Bacon has one thing to do. All he's got to do is say, how have you been the last couple of years? I've been in office. Has everything been going well for you? Do you feel good about how things have been going since I've been in office? That's going to be his talking point, I think, once we get to the general.
Which has been a point in politics for decades.
Yeah.
Are you better off now than you were 4 years ago?
Ronald Reagan, yeah.
Right, and Brett Ashford said, you know, I don't think we're really that better off, and Cara Eastman said we're definitely not better off. Healthcare, one of the issues. Do you think going forward that there's any divide between those two candidates on that better off issue, or do you think that they stay away from it?
The biggest divide here between these two, opposed to just what Mr. Ashford said with experience, is that honestly, Ms. Eastman's just more liberal. She has more liberal points of view. And is it time now in Nebraska for someone who has that other side of the aisle view? 2 years ago, we saw people leaning with Donald Trump. They ended up getting in office. Now we see people on the opposite side of Donald Trump getting in the office around the country. So she's got to kind of lean on that and say, look, not only am I a Democrat, but I'm the real Democrat where he is not.
Having said that, we brought up Nancy Pelosi.
Yes, she did.
And Don Bacon made Brad Ashford wear it 2 years ago
Yes,
in political terms. And it was an Achilles heel at some point during the debate and during the run-up to the election. Who do you think fared better on that answer? Who do you think really resonated with the Democratic primary voter?
Yeah, I think they really just dodged the question. She didn't want to answer. You know, she said, let me get in the office first and then I can do it. He said the same thing. But we know he has ties to Nancy Pelosi. That's why Mr. Bacon did what he did during the debate last time when we were right here sitting at these tables. I don't know. I would have loved to see or heard one of them say, you know what? I like this young person in Congress. I think they'd be great leading our caucus. I pick that person. That's what I would have done if I was running. I'd have found somebody who I think has new ideas and new ideas for the Democratic Party.
Having said that, Brad Ashford said that, in his words, voters trust me.
Right.
Well, and so
go back 2 years.
right.
Right.
And so he's hoping for a rematch with Don Bacon. Do you think he's looking forward more to a general election contest than, say, really getting down to the nitty-gritty of the primary?
Well, there's a reason why we don't see these very often, right? We don't see primaries for the single party because, for the most part, they agree on almost everything. So it's hard to have a real good debate. I think he understands what went wrong 2 years ago. I think he'll be ready for some of those questions, especially the one about Bellevue being on the threat list. And he'll be ready for that kind of thing, and so I think he'll be more prepared. But I think Kari Eastman has a chance. I think she has a pretty good chance in this because so many fresh faces, so many people who haven't been in politics right now are advancing. Because people want to see something different, they want to see a change.
Yeah, and she hammered that home a couple times. I'm the fresh face, and I stand by my convictions. And she had her issues, and healthcare is right up at the top.
And don't you think when people look at her, they say, you know what? I like that. She has a job, she has a career, she's a social worker. But you know what she's doing? She's doing something for her late mom, or she's doing something for the community. I think they like that. On the other hand, Mr. Ashford has done things for 18 years, as he said, helping people and being a part of political office. At the same time, people look at that and go, that's all you've done for 18 years. What about the person who's been out in the real world? So it's a heck of a debate. It's a good primary.
It was interesting when we had the reader question about higher education.
Yes.
It was a strong answer from Mr. Ashford, and then I thought a very strong answer from Ms. Eastman as well.
She had the advantage.
It was in her wheelhouse.
Yeah. Yep.
And I thought she had a good solid double, if not better, on that.
I don't think there is a bigger problem among the millennial generation and in the next 10 years than the debt that people owe for their student loans. We're talking about people that are trying to refinance, paying $1,000 a month trying to get through this, not being able to buy a home because they have all this payment. That's a big part. And Metro is a place that's doing a great job of helping people with Pell Grants and getting in there. So it was definitely in her wheelhouse. She was lucky to have that question.
Do you think that that Mr. Ashford missed an opportunity to seize on her inexperience? Because we did ask her the question about not holding county office or state office, and she wants to leap right to the federal government. I mean, there might have been a window in there for Ashford to say, I've been there, I've done that, I've made friends, I know people. There's no learning curve with me.
What about the dichotomy of saying, but you know what, she hasn't done all that stuff, and that's a good thing? Because there are people that look and say, you know what, this cronyism or drain the swamp, whatever that stuff that you've been hearing over the last year and a half or so, I think there are people that actually buy that. And they say, no, I don't want somebody who's been in there and doing the same thing for 18 years. And so if he would have jumped on her about that, and he did mention that he had more experience, but I don't think it was a good thing for him to say she doesn't have an experience. You know what I mean?
Sure, there's a difference.
It plays to where her strength is.
Sure, and we were talking about the race as first they've got a primary on May 15th, and then they've got to look ahead. He clearly wants to come across as the experienced statesman. She wants to be known as the fresh face in the race, and it'll be up to the voters to decide which one they want to send back, correct?
You've been here,
send in November.
Yeah, you've been here long enough to know that it's really difficult with that part of Sarpy County for this, because we know that it's been Republican. And how many times late at night did it come back with Lee Terry all those years where it was close and then all of a sudden Sarpy County came in and it was Lee Terry. So they have whoever wins this has a monumental task, I think, to be able to beat Don Bacon, only because I think that group there in Sarpy County is even more Republican than they were, say, 2 years ago.
Overall, final thoughts. It seemed like this debate, like a lot of them, took a little time to get some juice going, to get some energy flowing, because, like boxers, they have to feel each other out first.
I thought your last question you had in Facebook Live portion of it was a great one. What's the difference between the two of them? It's really hard to figure out when you have two people who are both Democrats, who both want the same thing, for the most part, to kind of discern which one you want to vote for. It makes it difficult. I think they both kind of gave a good answer for it. If you believe that experience is what it takes in Congress, then you vote for one. If you believe you need a new face who needs to go into new ideas, then Ms. Eastman is the answer.
Okay, very good. I enjoy this.
It was always fun.
Thank you very much. I enjoy the process as well. I enjoy parsing the questions and looking which ones might work, might not draw a reaction. I really like the candidates ask each other.
Well, I've known you for we got 15 years,
Yeah,
something like that.
at
I mean,
least.
no one loves the process of the political environment and landscape as you do. You love it. You love hockey and you love the politics. I know those two for sure.
Yeah, and Ashford pulled out that magic number. We need to get to 218 is what he said
Yep,
tonight
yep.
on Facebook Live.
Yep.
I looked at Real Clear Politics and I said, what's the magic number that both sides have to get to? Obviously 218 out of 435,
Right.
but you know, I think the magic number is like 22 or 23 Democrats take away to get the majority in the House.
Yeah.
And then there's 5 that are vacant, so it's interesting.
They're probably going to get the House, right?
You know.
Democrats will. They're not going to get the Senate, so you still have the president and the Senate.
Right. Well, then you'd really have an interesting final 2 years of the Trump presidency
I agree, yeah.
if both branches are not the same
Well,
party.
they can't get anything done now. So we'll see what
Oh,
happens
my
when
gosh.
you have it separated like that.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us tonight on Facebook Live and Omaha.com, and we certainly appreciate you taking an interest.